we are live with some Gruul Energy Prowess tonight. Obviously last week we kind of took a bit of a detour with the variant that was the old school Is It variant. Basically, this version is a little bit more current, so to speak, although we will be playing a little bit more in the kind of casual rooms tonight just for something different. I mean, kind of hard to burn through all the dang tickets we've been burning through with Prowess and Burn and continuing to beat our head against the wall without really getting any results. So, I know some people have been asking me to play some more energy, so we're going to be playing some more energy tonight. Big variant with this one, obviously, is the Amped Raptor Unstable Amulet Galvanic Discharge plan, rather than, you know, the more combo-centric version that we've played in the past, like this one with the copies of Scale Up and Assault Strobe. Instead, this one's trying to play a little bit more of kind of a fair energy, well, as fair as Prowess can be, plan, kind of grind a little bit with Unstable Amulet, a little bit of energy production, and then still have, you know, Monastery Swiftspear, Dragon Rage's Channeler, and Slickshot Show Off to finish off the game. 4 Mishra's Baubles to help trigger DRC, as well as filter through our deck a little bit. 18 lands, whole bunch of basic mountains, 1 Stomping Ground, 1 Commercial District, 1 Barbarian Ring. Obviously, Barbarian Ring can be used for a little bit of damage, Commercial District for a little bit of card selection, and then Stomping Ground for when we need to hard cast our green spells. The other thing in this version, we're back to running Underworld Breach, giving you a little bit more, once again, of a little bit of a late game. I don't really know that's where you want to be right now, but, you know, this is the version we're playing. And then 4 copies of Tormod's Crypt in the sideboard for any type of graveyard nonsense post board, whether it be Storm, Flage, Flage again, you know, basically anything that's trying to abuse the graveyard. Garoyo's Reanimator, Storm. You could bring it in against Frogtide, but I don't know that's the right fight you want to be fighting in that particular matchup. 4 copies of Pick Your Poison. Kills Murktide Regions. Kills Scions. Kills Leylines. Kills, you know, different things like Ruby Medallion, etc. So, reasonable card to have. I don't really know that Gruul has a ton of good cards they can board in. I think this is kind of the cleanest answer to most artifacts and enchantments that aren't named Chalice of the Void. The original version had 4 Blood Moons in the sideboard. I have 3 Blood Moons and 2 Magus in my collection, so I decided to do the 2-2 split. If we're being completely honest, this is, you know, good against the grittier mana bases, good against Eldrazi, can steal you some wins, especially when you find yourself on the play. Then 2 copies of Meltdown when you just need to blow up a whole bunch of artifacts, blow up chalices, etc. And then Jiggy, because why not if you're playing a deck that can play it at this point, right? So, that said, we're going to go ahead and go down to the, you know, kind of modern 2-player queue and just play some casual games. I'm at the point where I just want to have a little bit of fun. As far as the format overall, obviously, I think overall that Prowess and decks have just fallen off. They just have. I mean, Slickshot gave them a boost before, right before MH3 came out, and then MH3 came out, and Burn and Prowess have both kind of tanked as the format has become more mid-range oriented. This end's fun. One more land than I ideally like, but 2 lands, Bauble, DRC, so try to play crisp and quickly. I'll leave that on top against an unknown opponent. And Turn 1, Swamp, Inquisition. I presume they have to take Amped Raptor here. So that'd certainly be a reason to not have left Galv on top. Okay, looks like we're up against either Coffers or Necro, which I'm just going to go ahead and run out this Unstable Amulet, get it out of our hands so it can't get Thought Seized. Swizzle Spear, 3 card types, leave that on top. We know our opponent will have March next turn, so. If our opponent was smart, they would just do this now. Before we have a chance to trigger Surveil here. Yeah, looks like they agree. Alright, draw the Swift Spear, see what we hit with Unstable. Unfortunately, we can't just plot this, but I still think we cast it here. It's one of the downsides. I think plot is a... Yeah, you can only play it from your hand. Exile. This is, you know, kind of the squeeze that Prowess finds itself in. You know, you play against these Necro decks, or Coffers decks, whichever. They're basically similar decks, just trying to execute a little bit different style of strategy. And we're going to Galv our own Swift Spear here to just get some energy. Alright, this is the squeeze that Prowess finds. Oh, we're just up against straight up Coffers. Alright. I mean, a deck that's kind of disappeared, but also kind of not. Okay. It's putting our own spin on things. Could try to unload our hand here, but really wouldn't do... I should put Jiggy in our hand here. Seven mana. Dothy, sure. I see. Alright. Opponent is playing... Bring in our Blood Moons. Down our Lava Darts. Actually, do I even want to leave in? Probably good enough. So I'd like to play first. Sand is fine. We'll keep it. Well, I guess fine is a quote-unquote relative term here, but DRC. Generous not the best, but makes March a little bit more awkward for them. Sure. Give us our fourth card type. I'm going to leave the other mutagenic growths up, obviously, in case they go for March. Didn't really want to draw this in the face of possible further Thoughtseize and Inquisitions, but this deck feels like it's a little disjointed. They've got the Coffers plan going, but they've also got Dothy and Bloodletter, so sure. Interesting. Hits this for 6. So in what I thought was going to be a pointless exercise in playing the Blood Moon, it actually ends up being relevant. Alright, so we really don't want to be reliant on our graveyard synergies if they're on 4 Dothy, or do we just leave in our bolts and galves and hope we draw one? What's the best for the current meta? Any deck that isn't a red aggro deck? I honestly think it just comes down to preference of playstyle, because I don't think any of the prowess decks are marginally better than any of the others right now. I think that the energy variant plays a little bit better of a long game, but you're still going to lose to ring decks, energy, etc. If you're trying to play their game. I think that Teamer and Izzet are a little bit more middle of the road and consistent because of the preordains and expressive iterations. And I think the Prowess variant is better in a meta where there's a little bit more in the department of unfair decks, you know, Eldrazi, Amulet, Storm, or if you just want to try to get your opponent, for lack of a better term. I don't think any of the versions currently seeing play are appreciably better than any of the variants that over the others. And I wish I had better news than that, but I think it's just a matter of preference and what your local meta has more than anything. I mean, I monkeyed with some of the other variants. Naya was cute, but I think a little too fragile. And I don't have enough testing with... I should have cracked my bobble here. I don't have enough experience with toying with the Rakdos variant enough to know how much promise that one has. And I haven't looked at foundations to know if Prowess gets any appreciable upgrades. Presume they have to take Amped Raptor here. I know Burns obviously getting Bolt Wave, which will be... It will be an improvement, but I don't know how much it will impact Burns' place in the meta. And you could argue that possibly Boros Prowess gets yet another 1-mana interactive spell, which could be good. One in a blue. I'll have to take a look after this match to see if it's yeah, I knew which set you're talking about. Obviously try not to look at the set too early on. Ethic spoiler. It's got more. It's to a player. Talking about Draycatcher. Vigilance, Prowess, numerous creature deals. Any 3 incubation counters. Create a 2/2 Drake. I mean, this would require a little bit of a build around with Arena. Vigilance could be relevant. The Drake making ability, maybe. Curator of Destinies. Sword. Time stop. Cutthroat. If we were a different deck altogether. Sin Scatter, Self-Reflection, Micromancer. Aetherize. An offer you can't refuse. Studious Mystic, Imprisoned in the Moon. Inspiration from Beyond. Burst Lightning. Incinerating Blast. Sure Strike. Throw a Possibility. But obviously the big addition for burn is Bolt Wave. Deals 3 damage to each opponent. Basically an untargeted Lava Spike. And everything else in red's been... I mean, Flame Like Phoenix is okay, but not really a burn thing. So I'm honestly surprised that they gave us a new... They gave us a new Lava Spike X effect, but kind of glad, because burn, I want to say, I don't know if the last upgrade was, the last major upgrade I think was the Canopy lands in MH1, unfortunately. I mean, there's been things since. Rolling Vortex has been a role player. I think Skewer's been printed since then. The new black 1-drop that sees some play in the Rakdos and Mardu builds. But it really hasn't had a, like an outright home run, like, Price of Progress, Fire Blast. And I even mentioned something like Chain Lightning, or some similar effect, like another sorcery speed, one mana bolt. And while Bolt Wave is not that, it's Lava Spike is still pretty good right now, because it means you have to play less of the inefficient spells like Skullcrack and Lightning Helix and that kind of stuff. So Gigantha versus Gigantha. I think that Prowess creature has potential. If it had haste, it would be so much better. And that just continues to be the problem when evaluating like Prowess creatures and 1-drops is haste is really kind of critical in a lot of situations. And just so important. The Drake making ability, I mean, if you can force it through in combat, is fine. The ability to kind of DIY, make your own army in a can kind of thing. Especially if you're like the pump spell variant, or you're like forcing through like looks like we're up against Zoo. I think I'm going to play Slickshot out here. Normally I would not play this out in the potential removal, but this also might force our opponent to either play Scion here and risk it getting smoked, or they'll play a removal spell and they'll have to play off curve here. Now, so they're I've played against a variant of this deck before. They're like They play Zoo, but instead of playing some of the more nonsensical cards, they play things like Ocelot Pride, a Johnny. Don't think we can force lethal here. This is +7, +6, so 13. I think we're 1 short. I think I'm fine with that because they're unable to be, very likely unable to kill us in the crackback, and a lot of things are just lethal here. So I think we just go for the big burst. Opponent 1, make all their fetch lands useless, make all their shock lands come into play tapped. One's got to figure out, deal with 2 slick shots, an unstable amulet, and I concede. Works for me. Once again, we bring in the Blood Moons. Lava Darts are actually a little bit better in this against this variant. I think we'll go down. Maybe just bring in the Blood Moons because they can answer the Maguses with a lot of their removal spells. And then maybe go down. Couple copies of Lava Dart and the 2. Yeah, just go down a couple copies of Lava Dart. Alright, I mean, no creatures, but I think with Blood Moon and a Discharge, I'm willing to roll with it. Obviously, if they open on, I was going to say, if they open on Leyline into in the Scion, and we lose, but I think I'm okay with that. Actually, we don't even, well, Leyline we would just lose too, but I don't know that we'd lose to Scion because we might have enough oomph to deal with Scion. Looks like that's the main setup for their mana base. I'm just going to plan on fetching the commercial district here. Yeah, perfectly fine. Let's go ahead and kill the Johnny. Hold up Galv and pass the turn. Mm-hmm. Take a crack for 6. I can't float mana and cast fortunately, that's not going to work, friend. Good to know they have a ley line binding in hand, though. Taking a hit for 6 here. Okay. Bloop. Just gonna hold up Galvanic Discharge in case they have like a Ragavan or something a little bit more threatening this turn. These are the kind of situations where maybe you have a prayer against other mid-range decks, like where you lock them out of their game and then start doing your game plan. So how's everybody's weekend going? Hope things are going well for you guys. Couple things coming up. I'll be moving at the beginning of December, and then obviously the holidays. So things might be a little bit bumpy with the stream, unfortunately. I'm hoping to stream most weekends toward the end of the year, but I will try to at least have content available if I'm not streaming those nights, just to satiate the prowess hunger, so to speak. But I find prowess and burn both to have been in a rough spot for quite a while. Pretty sure I'm the only person consistently creating any content for either deck, whether it be the main Nexus channel here doing the prowess stuff, or whether it's MTG Nexus Red doing the burn stuff right now. Just neither deck is putting up any type of results, unfortunately. And you can innovate all you want, but you have certain constraints, unfortunately, within the modern format because of MH3. You know, when you just look and see Boros Energy 20%, Dimir Murktide 10%, Mardu Energy 10%, and then, you know, a bunch of combo decks, Belcher, Grinding Station, Eldrazi, Amulet, Storm, and then, you know, Zoo, Living End, you know, Yawgmoth, the former king of the formats, at 1.5% last 7 days. So, hopefully this Q pops in. But kind of elaborate on why each version of Prowess is kind of where it's at right now. You know, the energy variant has the core of the Prowess of DRC, Swift Spear, Slick Shot. So you have a fairly reasonable way to close out the game. Amulet, Raptor, and Galvanic Discharge give you a small energy package, not, you know, Boros energy level, but enough that, you know, Unstable Amulet's going to help you see a few other cards, and maybe Underworld Breach can kind of help you close out the game. Rest of the deck is pretty standard. I mean, I think this mana base, honestly, is just too clean with the 7 mountains, but, you know, I don't like getting too fancy with my mana bases sometimes. Maybe you could include an arena or two for the Amped Raptors and DRCs, even over the Barbarian Ring. But, like, the Gruul version doesn't have a ton of room to innovate. Like, the only other card I think that I would be interested in trying in the Green Splash is, you know, obviously we've tried things like D-Rev. You can try things like Veil of Summer if you're up against a bunch of counterspell decks. So there's not really a ton of room to innovate in the green margins for cards that fit the strategy and do particularly well. I mean, you've had Questing Druid, you know, as another card that you can help to potentially, you know, grind out longer matchups. But I just don't know that, like I said, I don't think trying to grind with the ring decks is the best plan to be doing. And then, if you look at Teamer, okay, that's not the best Teamer version I've seen, but I guess it's the only version that I have floating around. But, you know, you kind of get the general idea. You've got Swifty, DRC, Soulscar along with Slickshot. You have the Preordains and the Expressives to help you find your pieces. Underworld Breach, once again, is kind of a little bit of a grind plan. And then this version is a little bit more consistent at finding its pieces than Energy or Gruul Prowess. Not quite as explosive. I mean, you still have that turn 4-ish kill availability, turn 3.5 kill-ish on your good draws. But you kind of lack speed in certain matchups, etc. And if you're looking at this list, these 4 cards are merely placeholders just because I haven't had the budget, personal finance-wise, to pick up the other pieces. These would be the counter target. Oh, what is the name of that stupid card? Consigned to Memory. These 2 would be Consigned to Memory, and these 2 would be Surgical Extraction. Pyroclasm could easily be Fearfire Foes, Rough Tumble, you know, basically anything that helps clear out energy creatures. Questing Druid. This plan was good before the energy decks all adopted the One Ring as kind of their plan, so to speak. But it just wasn't enough to hold up in once the One Ring became kind of universal throughout, you know, most of the mid-range decks that aren't named Murktide region at this point. Pick your poison, good modal card. The one card it usually doesn't answer is that you care about is Chalice, but Chalice really hasn't seen a lot of play. Even in the Eldrazi decks, they're usually packing Trinispheres more than Chalices. And Holy Heat just does, you know, almost a universal removal spell. And then the combo version, I mean, this deck can kill on turn 2, turn 3, and you have a little bit of protection from your creatures with Blossoming Defense, Mutagenic Growth, Snakeskin Veil. Against kind of impatient energy players and stuff, you can kind of get them a little bit with, you know, Slick Shot into a couple spells, or Swift Spear into a couple of spells. I mean, you can easily go like Swift Spear, scale up, Assault Strobe, deal you 16 damage out of nowhere. Go Slick Shot, plot it, you know, say tap out for a 2-drop, play this Assault Strobe, you know, whatever, and they're dead. I mean, this deck does have probably the most potential of any of the Prowess variants, but it's just biggest issues in Standard. I don't think it's going to cause... I mean, it's already legal in Pioneer and Modern, so maybe. But, you know, they're also bringing back a 4-mana Wrath and Day of Judgment. There's a lot of unique things. They're giving Burn a 3 damage, 1 mana spell with no conditions, other than, you know, can't target creatures. So it's almost like they're trying to give... I haven't seen if Blue has gotten like some type of like mana leak or something. But it's almost like they're trying to give each color kind of its iconic that's alright, Eric. It happens, unfortunately, in these streams. But it's almost like each color is getting kind of its iconic piece back, which I think is a really good place to is a good place to quote unquote be the foundation of Magic. I think Foundation is doing a lot of things positive. Unfortunately, Universes Beyond and some of the other overreaching products are just draining of Magic. It's like, I don't want to like criticize Wizards for overdoing product and then look at something like Foundations, which on the surface is honestly really boring on the surface of it, but at the same time I think it's very critical to having a stepping stone into the formats in general is a good place for Magic to start. I just wish, I think I was talking about it in last week's stream, I wish they'd kind of slow down the product. Like, you'd have the 4 main sets, and then you have like one big Universes Beyond set or something, and then just something like some small mid-range sets. You know, whether it's so the reason I didn't play anything there was I really didn't want to play into my opponent's having a counterspell here, because we only have like a couple of relevant spells in this spot, and I don't think there's any point to doing that Opponent's not likely to be on Belcher with a fetch land in their deck. So I feel like my opponent's conceding the match. Yep. Oh no, you're not playing tier 1. I don't want to play against you. Well, I honestly think the Universes Beyond stuff bring in new players, especially to the Commander formats, but there still needs to be that bridge of I don't know that Pioneer is going to be dead. It just is really going to be hampered at a point in time when, you know, it's really starting to take off. And it's not the first time they've done that. They did it during the pandemic when they had all those combo things, and, you know, whether it was Dimir Invert or whether it was Lotus Field combo with Underworld Breach, whether it was I don't think they're adding Universes Beyond the Pioneer and Standard, are they? I think it's only mainly Legacy and occasionally Modern. I don't know. They're honestly too much product to keep up with, if we're being completely honest. Let me see if there's a 2-player queue going on right now. Modern 2-player queues, or somebody waiting? No. Oh, for crying out loud. They really are trying to shoot the golden goose, aren't they? I haven't caught the professor's rant on half the cards of Magic no longer being Magic. I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely one of them old boomer MTG players, but I like it when you have formats where certain decks are just good or are playable, whether it's a burn deck, a storm deck, a Jund-esque deck, etc. I really enjoy situations where there's like Pioneer has gotten to a point right now where it feels like you can play just about any style of deck you want. You can play aggro decks, albeit they're not in the best of positions. You can play you can play a mid-range deck like Phoenix, or you can play, you know, or Rakdos, or Mono Black. You can play an a tempo deck like Spirits, or that. There are ramp decks like Mono Green. There are, you know, actual combo decks like Greasefang and etc. Like, Pioneer at the moment feels like Modern was at its right before the MH3 nonsense, where you have a number of good, balanced. I feel like we're gonna get hit by a Bowmaster here. Nope, drown the lock. That's fine. And I used to, you know, when I had mana traders, I tried to play like all of the top tier decks. I tried to play, you know, I jokingly did the let's get Rakdos scam banned and, you know, that kind of stuff. But in my heart, I've always been someone who plays either fairly low to the ground combo decks or fairly low to the ground aggro decks or combo decks. I can play mid range. I can play control in certain circumstances. I just happen to prefer see if we can find a missing piece here. Nope. Alright, well, am I threatening lethal? 2, 11, 12. Flashback the other darts. Lethal. Would have been nice if we could have triggered Delirium here, but it is what it is. I haven't, and I'll be honest, I haven't even remotely tried keeping up with Spike's content. Like, I like Spike as a content creator, but number one, there was a shift in my job about 10 months ago or so, where I took on more responsibility at work during the middle of the day, and just, I don't have time to catch his streams at all really anymore. And he's a great content creator. I would love to be able to keep up with all of his brews. He comes up with some absolutely amazing things. Oh no, you're perfectly fine. I talk about I'll talk about the streamers I like. I mean, I liked Aspiring Spike when I could watch him more. Over the years, I've liked Young Dingo a lot. I like Bryant Cook on the Epic Storm. The Bryant Cook and Young Dingo are the two that I primarily watch right now. I also watch a little bit of Tony Scapone. His channel. In the past, I've watched Spike. I've watched Doomlake. I used to watch Hooglin when he was a Magic streamer. Not because he was a pleasant personality, but because he was a good player who kept things interesting. Even if I didn't necessarily agree with some of his other outside of Magic commentary. I've liked who was his name? Cook actually does some modern and pauper content as well. He does the Ruby Storm variants in modern, and he does he does Lotus Field combo in Pioneer. So but I think those are the main ones that I follow at the current moment. Yeah, that's been a while since that deck's been out. I think I just plot this for now. It's obviously a bit of a risk because I don't have Spell Stutter sprayed up, but yeah. But the main ones I follow right now are Brian Cook, Tony Scaponi, and Young Dingo. And I've also, like I said in the past, I've followed Doomwake, Hoogland, trying to think who else I've followed. I feel like they're sitting on a kill spell. That's why I didn't pump anything into this right now. And then we've already seen Essence Flux out of them, yeah. No sense in trying to play that right now. We'll try to blow them out later. Figure we're about to eat a Spell Stutter here. Nice. But yeah, I used to follow Doomwake. I used to follow Aspiring Spike. I used to follow what is this? Psionic Blast, huh? If we go all in here, can I kill my opponent? I don't think so. +3, +3, +2, 8, +4. Just take the opportunity to kill their creature here. Hope we can resolve our Underworld. Yeah, Jim and Corey, I both like their content. I just don't. Ellie Eldrazi as well, or Ellie Entrazi, I should say. I like, despite his kind of all over the placeness, I do enjoy his content. But most of the time when it's Corey, Allie, or Jim, I'll only, like if I'm researching a particular deck or playing a specific deck and something like that happens, then I'll I have a feeling this is going to be a block in Essence Flux. I know about the Lava Dart, so it's not like they're really gaining any ground here. I really haven't seen a lot of Eldrazi Doyle. I think Eldrazi's kind of gone by the wayside because I think while it kind of beats up the energy decks, I also think it struggles a little bit against all the different combo decks in the format, whether it's subtlety. Excuse me. All right. Well. Yeah, but no one. That's the ironic part, right? Is like Chalice on one is. Who are you targeting with Chalice on one? Like, the burn decks and the prowess decks are almost non-existent. Energy, I mean, sure, kind of. Venser, bouncing. Sure. So energy does, yes. But a lot of other decks don't care about 1 and 2 drops. And that is, if you're on the play, if you're on the draw, even a Chalice on 1 on turn 1 is kind of trash. Ninjutsu. What the heck does this one do? Until the end turning without paying their mana cost. Fantastic. Did they hit? Hit a Swift Spear and... Sure. They have a spell snare or something, we're dead here. If they don't, then... I appreciate people like my opponent trying new things out. Well, yeah, I understand that, Doyle, and it's not that Chalice isn't, like, if you look at the current format, as things kind of stand, Energy has some 1-drops. Dimir, Murktide has a good amount of 1-drop spells, sure. Has a good amount of 2-drops and 3-drops. So Chalice isn't game ender. It's decent against these decks, okay against that. Belcher, kind of medium. Domain Zoo's usually a bunch of... I mean, it has some 1-drops, but it's mostly a bunch of powerful 2-drops. Ruby Storm, Chalice on 2, pretty darn good overall, honestly. Just got control, Chalice is whatever. Amulet, Chalice is a joke. although on 0 can be okay. Grounding Station, probably pretty decent. This deck has a lot of 1-drops, whether it be Tamiyo, whether it be some of its stuff, but some of its relevant things are 2-drops and 0-drops. Garoyo's decent amount of 2-drops in that deck. Living End, obviously Chalice on 0, not really good against the Eldrazi decks. It's okay, it's middling against Yogg, not good against Eldrazi Tron. So if you look at the Eldrazi decks right now, you have kind of the ramp deck that, you know, tries to abuse the soul lands and Devourer of Destiny to find them more consistently. And you have Mike and Spawn and the Talismans to ramp. One Ring is kind of your bridge, so you get to play like turn 3, turn 2, turn 3, the One Ring. You get to play Sowing Micah Spawn to ramp yourself, and you're just playing a legitimate ramp deck with this one. The Through the Breach version is somewhat similar. You know, you're still playing the ramp package, but this one's a little bit more all in on, you know, trying to hit your big things. This one, for some reason, not running the One Ring. But as you can see from the price points, a lot of them just are. But you're a Through the Breach deck that uses like Kozilek's Return, Kozilek's Command to buy yourself some time to get to your 4-drops, even though you're using Devour and Ancient Stirrings to find your lands. You know, very good, very powerful plan, but if you're looking very closely, there is no Chalices in the deck. You have the Trinispheres, you have the Stone Brains in the sideboard, but they're not Chalice decks. They're literally playing to the board early. Eldrazi Tron, I'm guessing you're going to see Chalice in this version. Nope, no Chalice in the main deck. Chalice in the sideboard for Karn. Couple Chalices in the main here. So it looks like E-Tron is your Eldrazi Tron deck of choice there. If you're going to be playing Chalice of the Void. Yeah, the Ugin's Land is powerful, but it also is... it has that balance, right? Like, you have to have a 7-drop colorless spell to make it powerful. And you have to play, you know, Devourer of Destinies, World Breakers, All Is Dusts in enough amount to make that work. So... oh, I'm sure it is. Even more so if you had access to Eldrazi Temple. I don't think Eldrazi Temple's on Arena, is it? Don't think so. Lord knows with some of the weird stuff they've printed onto Arena, despite the fact they can't get a Pioneer's Master set together. But, gotcha. And Null Drifter isn't terrible on its own, so... but, I mean, basically if you look where the meta is right now, like, it's all MH3 decks. You have the Energy decks, Dimir Murktide has, you know, either Psychic Frog, some of them are running Aborn Oculus, Harbinger of the Seas, Belcher, because of the Modal Face lands, is largely a MH3 available deck, or enabled deck. Domain Zoo is like the one outlier, but even it's running Flage usually. Some of the builds are running Psychic Frog. I'm still not 100% sure why Zoo's made a comeback. I mean, I guess it's the most powerful pound-for-pound version of aggro decks, and can play like all of the hate cards. Like, it can play Sun Cleansers, it can play Consigned to Memories, can play, you know, Ghost Vacuum, Damping Sphere. Ruby Storm, obviously, is an MH3 deck. Just Guy Control's an MH3, and the One Ring deck. Amulet, well, it hasn't... I mean, it's gotten the Aftermath Analyst, which has changed how some of the builds have worked. Amulet's just so weird anymore. I don't even like try to keep track of it anymore. Then the Eldrazi decks were all made powerful by MH3. Garroyos, I mean, it got Psychic Frog and Emperor of Bones, which, yeah, that's an MH3 card, I thought it was. So, and in order to find aggro decks outside of Zoo, you've really got to look like Burns like less than 1% of the meta. Is it Murktide's less than 1% of the meta? Tron's down here, Infect's down here. This deck popped up for a bit, Jum Delirium. It's kind of petering out. These are two different other variants of the Belcher combo. It's just, I mean, Gruul Prowess, Teamer Prowess, Gruul Energy, if you go a little bit further. Yeah, the format's just, it's MH3 dot format. I mean, largely. Like, a lot of decks that were powerful, like, I mean, I know Hammer was failing, but Hammer, Mono Black, Living End, Yawgmoth. One deck that has surprisingly made a little bit of a comeback is Affinity, here and there. But, I mean, so many, like, pre-MH3 decks are, like, down here. And then you have, like, all the MH3 decks up here. So, go ahead, O'Doyle. That'd be fine. But, I mean, Energy's in a weird spot, right? So, the deck's not unbeatable. It's no Nadu by any stretch. Because it struggles with, you know, if you look at its sideboard, like Damping Spheres, Drain of Magistrates, Worm's Chance, it should tell you that their problems are this and this. So, Eldrazi decks and combo. That's how you beat Energy. It's Belchers and Storms. You can't really outgrind Mardu per se anymore since it's now a full-on one-ring deck. You can go over the top of it with like Amulet and Garroyos, which, yes, they're combo decks, but they're also like mid-range creature decks in some regards. You know, Belcher and Storm just beat them game 1, and then game 2 and game 3 they're playing catch-up. And then Grinding Station, very much the same thing. It's another combo creature deck. Well, kind of creature deck. So, I mean, the format's mid-range, combo, ramp-ish, combo, mid-range ramp, mid-range control, you know, Rakdos mid-range, which is really just this Nethergoyf FOMO deck with Burning Inquiry, which that's kind of cool that there's this, like, semi-mid-range, semi-combo deck running around. Mill being Mill, Merfolk, Affinity. There's really, this is the only, like, true aggro deck in the top portion of the format. And then you have a whole bunch of combo and a whole bunch of mid-range. Very little ramp. I mean, Eldrazi's kind of ramp. And then very little control, very little aggro. So, it's kind of a rough list to be, honestly, if you're a red aggro lover or anything like that. So, but yeah, sum up what I was talking about earlier. People ask what the best version of Prowess is right now. Whatever version of Prowess you want to play, whether it's Gruul, whether it's Teamer slash is it, whether it's Boros with Boros Charm, supplementing your spells. The Rakdos variant, I obviously haven't had toyed with it enough to even think about considering that. The Naya version's cute with Luminancer. I don't think there's any other variants out there right now. No one's really worked on like a Grixis version or anything, or a Jund version yet. There's a lot of color combinations that are possible. I just don't know that they really add a ton to what the deck's problem is. The deck kind of rose to prominence, or rose to power again on the back of Slickshot, and it's just not... Slickshot's powerful, but it's just overshadowed by so many other things in the meta right now. Hopefully, Bolt Wave will make some waves for Burn, and maybe we can get back to a little bit more balanced of a meta, but I think it'll lead to an initial interest in Burn, but I don't think it's going to really change Burn's place in the meta right now. Burn will be closer to being a turn 3.5 deck, which is a good thing. I don't know if it will really shake things up enough, though. But, yeah, that's very close to... I've seen some Eldrazi lists like that in Modern. They're just not the ones that see the most play. Let's see if I can find the... Not quite what I was looking for, but... There was a version there for a little while that was trying to run linebacker and whatnot and kind of be a aggro-ish deck, but nice. What does Wampus Aberration do? I don't even remember. Whenever you cast it, wasn't cast it, your target opponent can put a creature card on their hand on the battlefield. Yeah, there was a deck running around like that in Modern for a little bit at post MH3, but I think I think Eldrazi's place has to be as the go big deck. I don't think it can play a mid-range plan, unfortunately, in the current format, because just kind of runs into Dimir, Frogtide, and Energy, and they just look at it and go, we're the better mid-range deck, so... But, anyways, thanks to Doyle and Eric and Jay hanging out today. We should be streaming no problem next week. Like I said, the next couple months are going to be a little hit and miss with the holidays and the move coming up. Thanksgiving weekend's going to be a little bit iffy, and then Christmas and New Year's will be kind of play it by ear. So, yeah, Linebacker gives all of them haste, which can be really dumb. So, anyways, thanks guys for hanging out. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and hope to see you for next week's stream. As always, If you like modern content, especially of the Prowess variety, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. See you for our next video.